Hello everyone, how are you tonight? It's Carol Garrison with Carol's Creative Escape, and I'm so glad to be here with you tonight. I wasn't quite sure if I was going to make it live. I'll tell you a little bit about that in just a few minutes here, but I want to welcome everybody to this video tonight. I'm going to be demonstrating some brand new product from the Sale-a-Bration catalog that will be coming out the end of the week. So that's pretty exciting. I had to figure out my days here real quick in my head. Hopefully by now, if you've ordered from me in the past, you've received a copy of the catalog. If you haven't received a copy of the catalog, it would be both the Sale-a-Bration and the new July to December Biddy catalog. Let me know, and I would be happy to get a copy in the mail to you if you don't already have a demonstrator. And let me just double check my Facebook. Okay, here we go. So today's been just a wee bit crazy. I apologize for not being here last week with you and putting a video up instead. I was actually out of town camping, and that's just not something I want to advertise a whole lot ahead of time. My daughter did stay at the house and do dog and cat sitting for us, but two of my sisters, a brother-in-law, and John and I headed up to the North Shore of Minnesota along Lake Superior and did a week of camping at Temperance State Park, which is absolutely beautiful park. We also did a lot of hiking and just investigating in that area, drove out on the Gunflint Trail, saw lots of waterfalls. It was just really nice to be able to get away. We had one night with some really, really stormy weather. It's not the best feeling being in a tent when you've got lightning going on around you. But we all survived the mega bolt of lightning that was hitting, we swear, right next to our tent. But we all survived, and we had just a great time. If you're not from this area, you may not be familiar with mosquitoes. They were thick, thick, thick. And I probably can do dot to dots on my legs and my arms right now because I have so many mosquito bites from them, and they're just getting to that itchy stage. So if you see me start to scratch or something on my arms, don't worry, it'll all clear up. And then today went back to work, and typical return to work type stuff that you have to deal with after being gone for a week. And I also have the excitement of having Cece with me overnight tonight and then all day tomorrow, so I'll be off work again tomorrow. In addition to Cece, we also have their little puppy with us. So I've got an old cat, my dog, a hyper puppy, and what started out as being kind of fussy little baby, but she's fallen asleep now, so hopefully we can get things going again here. And so that's kind of why everything was sort of happening right before I was going to go live, but I think it's all going to be good, and we can get going, and we're going to move ahead from there. So I made this card. I really liked it, got my card all done, and realized I made one cut wrong. And instead of using Orchid Oasis, I grabbed my Starry Sky. So when I show you how to make this card, I'm going to make it a point to cut it correctly and use the right color of marker on the card. So if you see a little difference in color, don't worry about it. It's just me having a day, and that's all we're going to say about it. All right, so the paper that I'm using today, well, actually, let me flip you around, and gosh, don't look at my messy desk. I swear it is. I may just flip you up to the ceiling today. It is really bad here. So let me flip it over so you can see what I'm working on. Just a moment. Whoops. And now you can probably hear the puppy barking upstairs. Oh, goodness gracious. Oops, and I think Cece just woke up too, thanks to the barking puppy. Oh well. John is up there. I'm not abandoning her. He'll take care of her. And I will run up as soon as I'm done with the cards tonight. Okay, I think I have us situated, and I apologize for barking in the background. Just is what it is. Welcome to my house. A little crazy tonight. Anyhow, now I'm crooked here too. Ay, ay, ay. Maybe oh, you guys. Help. All right. We're going to get this straightened out because it'll drive me nuts if I'm a little crooked, you know. Okay. Anyhow, the set that I'm featuring you today, this is one of the items you can get for free with Sale-a-Bration with a $100 purchase. And it is a stamp and designer series paper bundle. The stamp set is called Wonderful World, and it's a photopolymer stamp set. It includes 5 stamps, 2 leaf images, and 3 floral images. And I'm working with this image today because it fit the paper that I wanted. So that's pretty cool. And then it comes with the designer series paper. I just dropped part of my paper into the trash too, which has this lovely floral piece. And then these bigger prints, these would be so simple just to cut out. You wouldn't even need to do any coloring. You could make some easy, quick cards with that. This reminds me of wallpaper, kind of. So you can see that. And then here's just a real delicate kind of pastel print. And then this is just straight rows, so it'd be great to create some kind of border just as a focal point, or, you know, like a 2-inch strip on your card. And you could use circle dies or some of your punches maybe and just cut out these individual things to make cards as well. I think that's real pretty. And then on the back side, you've got just kind of an all-over pattern. I think these are really pretty. They look kind of like little tulips to me. Here's another piece that would be a great background print. And some yellow toned stripes. Some leaves. And then a green pattern of leaves. So very, very pretty paper. Again, it's called Wonderful World, and it's in the Sale-a-Bration item, so it's a free item that you can get the designer series paper and the stamp set. And the coordinating colors are Daffodil Delight, Flirty Flamingo, Melon Mambo, Mossy Meadow, Orchid Oasis, Pear Pizzazz, Rich Raspberry, Sahara Sand, and Starry Sky. So those are the colors that you can work with, and I am going to just jump right in and get started on my card. Let me show you my template that I'm working off of. This is a card layout that I saw by another demonstrator named Julie Davison. And this was supposed to be Orchid Oasis, but I used Starry Sky, so it's a little bit darker. I promise my card's going to look a little better than I show you here because the colors are actually going to blend together here. So, hi Ann, Donna, April, thanks for joining in. I appreciate it. And I see Karen is out there as well. Thank you, you guys, for joining in. Sorry if I'm a little, I don't know, just got a little crazy on me here. I wasn't expecting it. I should have known better, but whatever. I've got a piece of Orchid Oasis that measures 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. And then I have a piece of designer series paper that I cut at 4 by 5 1/4. And then I've got a piece of rich raspberry, and I don't remember what the measurements were. 3 1/4 by 4. Nope, 3 1/4 by 4 1/2 on this piece. And then this piece measures 2 3/4 by 4 inches. And then, of course, I also have a piece for the inside of the card that measures 4 by 5 1/4. And that's just a piece of basic white. And then I'm also going to show you how to decorate your envelope flap. So this piece measures 2 3/8 by 5 7/8. And I just used my liquid glue and put it on here. I wanted to give it a chance to set. So I did that. I'm just going to set it aside, and I'll show you how to make a quick, easy, pretty little envelope too. So to start with, let's go ahead and fold our cardstock in half. And this is coming off a pretty bright blue on my iPad. I can see off the camera, but it is the Orchid Oasis, so it's not as blue, as brilliant blue as it looks on camera. Then I will take, and I'm going to do the easy part first. I'm going to add the designer series paper to the inside of my, or the outside front of my card. And we will just center it like that. The card that the other demonstrator did, Julie Davison, she actually just embossed the front of her card, but I wanted to use this designer series paper because I think it's so pretty. All right, then the next thing that we're going to do is stamp our image. And I am using, like I said, this image from the Wonderful World stamp set, mostly because it filled my paper the right size. And then I am borrowing a greeting from the Nature's Prints stamp set, the Hello There greeting, because that fit kind of the space of this card, if that makes sense. And so I just wanted to make sure I was covering my bases with what the card is supposed to look like. So today, instead of using ink and stamping and an ink pad, I'm actually going to use my Pear Pizzazz and my, make sure that it's the Orchid Oasis marker. And I'm going to color in these images. And the reason I'm doing this is I want to have both colors on here. And the way my day's gone, I didn't think I'd be able to stamp it correctly and get colors in just those spots. So for me, coloring is the answer. And so I'm just going to use the broad tip of my marker. You know, these have a narrow and a kind of a broader tip. And I use kind of the side, and I'm just coloring in the flower part. And I'll leave that lower part green, or leave it blank so I can color it green. And I'm just going over my image. Want to make sure I get a good coat of color kind of all over it. And then I'll come down and color this other flower. I've gotten so used to using my blends, I kind of forget about these markers out here. And they do, the blends will stain your stamps pretty badly if you use them, especially the photopolymer ones, but I've seen them even stain the rubber ink just a little bit. And I can handle a little bit of use stainage, but I struggle with the dark stains. And then I'm coloring with Pear Pizzazz on the stem. And I chose Pear Pizzazz, honestly, because I don't have Mossy Meadow, which would be the darker color, in the markers. I've only got those in blends. I actually did my first card in Old Olive, and in all honesty, that will work as well. But I know this lighter color is in the paper family, so I can be assured it's going to blend. Like I said, I'm trying to make this next card a little bit better than I made my first card. Now, when you use the markers, of course, they're going to dry out, so you need to just huff on it a little bit. And by huff, I just mean hold it up to your mouth and blow kind of a steamy breath onto the block. Obviously, during COVID, this is not something I'm going to be doing in a class or anything like that. But here I can sanitize and clean off my block. And then I'm just going to stamp it down. And what the huffing does is it just adds a little bit of moisture to any of the ink that may have dried while you were coloring other parts of your card. Okay, so I've got that image. And then I'm going to color this. Can you see? Messy, messy. Oh well. I am going to now just use my marker. I could get my ink pad out, but you know what? I'm too lazy to do that. And my marker will work just fine. And so, and this is something where if I even just wanted to do hello instead of the hello there, in fact, change it up midstream. let's try that and see what happens. I'm just going to clean off my block completely. And then I'm going to come back, and all I'm going to do is color the hello and hopefully not the there. So that's another advantage to using your markers like this for coloring. You have a little more control over where the ink may end up, or at least I hope I do. We'll find out, won't we, in just a minute or two. And I'm just going to kind of run it over. I also find that when you use markers, it's a little bit more forgiving if you go off to the side of the stamp a little bit. All right, and I did get just a titch of ink on one of the letters, so I'm going to wipe that off real quick. And again, I'm going to huff a little bit on here, and because I didn't do the there, I'm going to make sure that I'm stamping my hello down a little bit lower. And there we go. So now I was able to customize my stamp a little bit too, just because of using my markers. Okay, so the next step that we're going to do is a little bit of trimming. And the first thing that we're going to do is cut this in half lengthwise. And so this measures 2 3/4, which means 1 3/8 will be the halfway point. And so I will line that up and cut it. And then how I cut it wrong before, I need to cut one of these pieces at 2 3/4 on one end and the other piece at 2 3/4 from the other end, if that makes sense. So I'm going to start by doing my 2 3/4 from the top. And so those pieces will be like this. And then this piece, I'm going to do my 2 3/4 cut from the bottom. And so what that does is gives me 4 pieces that will be opposite in size. What I did on my first card works just fine. There's nothing wrong with it. This just gives it a little more depth, and I think a little bit of difference. Not to mention the coloring is a little bit better. So we'll compare the two when we're done, but it isn't nothing wrong with just cutting it in 4 even squares either, is my point. Okay, then the other thing that I'm going to do is pop all of these pieces up onto dimensionals, and that's just to give it a little bit of lift. Now, you could just pop your hello up if you wanted to do that, and I'll show you real quick what that would look like. And that would just put some emphasis on that word. But I think I prefer having all of them personally at the same level, height, whatever. So I am going to put dimensionals on the other 3 pieces as well. But play with that a little bit. Maybe there's one other piece, not even the sentiment, that you might want to raise up just to add a little bit of pop to the card. That is perfectly okay. And I am putting on 5 dimensional, so I've got a little bit of support in the middle on these bigger pieces. And again, remember that this paper that I'm showing you is from the new Sale-a-Bration catalog, and is one of the free items you can purchase when you place a $50 order from either the mini catalog or a combination of the mini catalog and the annual catalog. So this is just a fun way to earn some free paper and show you how to use it. So next I'm just going to start assembling my pieces, and I think for me, being visual, it helps to lay them out just a teeny bit ahead of time. And then the basic thing that you want to do is put them on your paper so that you've got an even border going around all of your pieces. And so that works to be, I don't know, something kind of like that. I'm just eyeballing it. It doesn't have to be perfect. And I'll put all of my pieces on. And end up with this one little piece in the corner. And then this piece, I'm just going to use my adhesive and adhere it to the front center of this card. So I've just got the Designer Series paper going around it. And as I look at this card, I think I might need a little bit of bling on it. So let me get the inside piece in, and then I am going to grab some of the new pearls that are available in the mini catalog, and they're called red and green adhesive back pearls, but there's actually gold and silver in here too. So I'm going to use a couple of these just to add a little bit of pop. And I'm shocked I found my take your pick tool. And I think I'm actually going to put silver on one and gold on the other, and we'll see which we end up liking better. I think this just adds a little pop to the card. So there's that one. And then this is my original card, keeping in mind it's a bit darker than I intended it to be, but it worked. Put it down here in the corner. I think that gives it just a little bit of life. So there's a couple variations on how the card works, and then let me show you real quick how to make these fancy flaps. Like I said, this is 2 3/8, so it's just over the size of the flap at the score line, and 5 7/8, again just over the width of the envelope. And then I use my liquid glue to adhere it, and now I'm frantically looking for my paper snips, and all I'm going to do now is take my paper snips and cut along the edge of the flap, and you want to cut it right up to the flap. Like so. Sometimes I stamp on my envelopes, sometimes I just send them out blank, a lot of times. And tonight, for the first time, I'm trying to make a fancy flap. And again, just try to get as close to the envelope flap as you can. And there you go. So you've got a real pretty card with a matching envelope. The only thing is, make sure when you're cutting your paper, if it's got a real direction to it, that you cut it length and height wise correctly so that your pattern goes the right direction. So I call this my window pane or faux stained glass type card because of the split in the lines in between. And again, this is using one of the sets featured in the Sale-a-Bration catalog. This catalog goes into effect July 1st, which is this Friday. And in addition to that catalog, you will also be able to order out of the mini catalog for July and December. I can't do anything other than show you this beautiful cover. And maybe tell you that I purchased this, so you're going to see some cards made out of this. And oh, this ribbon is really, really pretty too. And oh yeah, all this cardstock, really, really pretty. These dies actually have holes in them, so you would put foil or something behind them and it looks like little lights are twinkling through. And then again, with the Sale-a-Bration catalog, here's the paper from the suite I just worked with to make these two cards. These hippos are adorable too that are on the cover, so kind of look for that as well. Sale-a-Bration is good July 1st to August 31st of 2022. And again, with the purchase of items over $50, you can pick out free items from the Sale-a-Bration catalog. So I hope you like this card. Give it a try. Again, I will repeat measurements here for you. 4 1/4 by 11, score at 5 1/2. Designer series paper is 4 by 5 1/4. This piece of cardstock is, for some reason, I'm having a really hard time remembering this because I had to go back and measure this one too. It is 3 1/4 by 4 1/2. I'm sorry. And my white piece was 2 3/4 inch wide by 4 inches long. I just cut it in half this way, which is 1 3/8, and then I cut it 2 3/4, once from the top and once from the bottom, and that's how I got these squares to go this way. So I hope you had fun with this card. Give it a try. I'd love to see what you create with the paper that you've got, and give this fancy flap a try. It's a great way to use up scraps of designer series paper. And I think I told you in many of my videos recently that one of my goals is to use up my designer paper this year. Great way to use up some of those scraps, and what a pretty envelope that you create with that too, isn't it? And that's not going to add weight, you know, to make it cost extra to mail or anything like that either. So give it a try. If you make this card, please share it in the comments. I'd love to see what your creativity brings out for you too on this card. Everybody have a great week. I will be back next week with my life put together a little bit more than I am tonight. Have a great week, and thanks for tuning in. Bye-bye.